If you want to expand your leadership skills, abilities, experience, the best way to do that is to listen to leaders in different industries about their personal leadership journeys, as well as the foundations for their leadership expertise. And so that's what we're going to do today on this leadership panel. Hello, lovely dynamic women. Welcome to the Dynamic Women Podcast. I am Diane Rolston, your host. And today I have three authors from the upcoming Leadership Secrets book. I've got Laura, Rochelle, and Candy. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh, you did that in unison. That was amazing. We didn't even practice that. It's when I've been reading your pieces because the book is coming out in May, end of May. I thought, oh, wow, like I've got to get these women on because, yes, everyone's going to be able to read your piece in the Dynamic Women Leadership Secrets book. But I also know that there's so much more wisdom that you have and so many more questions that I have that I want to pull out of you, these answers, and share it with my listeners. So let's kick things off. Why don't you each tell me a little bit about yourselves so that those listening know who's here? So we'll start off with you, Laura.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. So I'm Laura Richards, and I'm the host of the That's Where I'm At podcast, and I'm a narcissistic abuse recovery expert, and I'm a speaker, podcaster, author, and that's what I speak on from my own personal journey.
Hmm. Teased us there. We're going to have to
Yeah,
find out more about that.
that's
Rochelle,
right.
how about you?
Hi, I'm a financial advisor and I work with a lot of women
Hmm.
and civil servants in the New York area. And I help them become confident and take leadership in their own financial life. And that's something that I had to learn over my life too.
Okay, we got two different topics here, but both on leadership. Awesome. Well, what do you bring to us, Candy? Who are you?
Hi, so I'm Candy Motzek, and I'm the host of the She Coaches Coaches podcast. And I work with a lot of leaders who've decided that they want to be coaches. I'm a business coach that supports them in growing their business and getting started. And leadership is one of those things that really wraps nicely with coaching. It helps us take care of our clients so much better.
Amazing. Well, welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here. Let's kick it off. The first question I have for you is around your personal journey and the book, your piece in the book. So, what inspired you to write your chapter in the book, and how does it relate to your personal leadership journey? We'll keep in this order for this round. Laura.
Okay. I was like, who's going first?
Yeah.
So I was inspired because since I'm a narcissistic abuse recovery expert, and that is my experience from my own personal journey of my 32-year marriage to a narcissist. Narcissists are everywhere, and I wanted to give people a an idea of how to deal with them when you're in leadership.
Mm.
So, meaning that you're talking in the book about people in your workplace, like people you might meet, employees. Give us a little more.
Yes, and so yes, so if you're thinking about a workplace environment and if you're in a leadership position, you are going to have people who are coming and going in your organization, employees often, that have narcissistic tendencies, and there's a certain way that you can lead with so that you maintain your integrity. I don't want to give it all away, but that's so that you
Yeah.
maintain your integrity while you're dealing with them.
Yeah, and I've thought it with the workplace, or even a lot of the listeners or entrepreneurs. You might get a client or a vendor or a contractor who's a narcissist, but I usually just think of it like you're dealing with an annoying person or a rude person, and then, well, when you run your own business, you're like, don't want to work with them again. But when it's
Right.
narcissistic people, I'm guessing that that is even trickier because they're like
Yeah.
almost hiding.
Right. And many of them are manipulative. And so you need to learn how to the thing I like to talk about is how to stay in your integrity with what you're doing in your business or in whatever you're doing in your leadership role, right? Even if you're just a solopreneur, like that's okay too. But when you're dealing with a client, right? You have a client and they might be trying to manipulate you or get more from you than you want to provide. That's why I try to show how to maintain your integrity and how does that benefit you in any kind of role that you're in.
I love that. And I've read your piece and it's great. And the thing I like about maintaining your own integrity, and you talk more, I know you talk more about that in your piece, but is that you actually have control over that.
Right.
Definitely don't have control of the other people.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where you can get frustrated, because when we start having people crossing our boundaries, that's where we get frustrated. So learning how to set your boundaries and maintain those with integrity so that you feel good about what you're doing and how you're leading.
Awesome. Okay. Let's move to Rochelle. What inspired you to write your chapter in the book, and how does it relate to your personal leadership journey?
Sure. Well, many of my clients are women who are leaders. They could be judges or work for themselves, and they have responsibilities and can navigate their workplace or that part of their life very easily. But when it comes to their money, they become shrinking violets. They just come into have fear, have a lack of confidence, are following perhaps a path from people who were their parents or grandparents or whomever is sitting on their shoulder and still
Yeah.
talking to them. That's
Mm.
not their true self. And part of my work is not just helping them look at the facts of their financial life, but understand and delve and deal with the emotional issues, because in the end, it's all about the emotions that money carries with it.
Yeah, how interesting to think that someone could be as powerful and confident and important in their role as a judge, and then completely suck in leadership and their money and their finances. It's it's so weird to think that, but it's true. I see that a lot in the people I work with, the women I work with. They're in a lot of powerful leadership roles or business roles, and yet they won't charge more, or they're spending frivolously. They're not managing it. So yeah, it's so important that they have that side.
Yeah, they could have a mindset of scarcity, even though they have more than enough. Or
Mm,
by the same token, they're overdoing in things and harming themselves financially because of that. And it is most times out of insecurity. So much of it boils down to emotional reasons. And I found that very frustrating in my own, when it occurred to me in my own life. And I said,
mm,
oh, I'm making these decisions. I'm allowing my husband to make these decisions.
gotcha.
No, I've sat with couples and the wife has walked out of the room when we got to the serious part and went beyond the chit chat.
Mm.
I found that very frustrating.
Ah,
So I said, this is when we were talking about leadership and what this is, I had to narrow it down.
yeah.
It wasn't just big picture leader, I'm the leader of this organization or that, but I've been in the business long enough to have seen people really evolve and take their financial lives under their own auspices and not be dependent upon, other than calling me for advice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're working in conjunction with you, just like
Yes.
Laura's clients, Candy's clients, my clients work in conjunction with us as like a partner to reach their goals. You do the same. And so I love how your piece is talking about being the leader of your finances, because you have to be. You have
You
to be.
have to be.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
no one can make the decisions. A decision that is right for your brother or your colleague may not be right for you.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Giving the power back. Giving the power back to the people, or in
Oh, right.
the women. Yeah, thank
Right.
you. Okay,
Sure.
Candy, how about you? What inspired you to write your piece in the book, and how's that connect to your personal journey?
Mm. I decided to write that piece because I'm a great example of somebody who realized I had my career ladder leaning on the wrong building. And I know that we've heard that before. And I wanted to give people permission to realize that it's not the end of the world. If you realize that you've evolved past a certain point, that the place to look is to start looking inside and seeing what really matters to you, and not just keep doing those leadership roles just because they sound good on the outside. If you feel gross on the inside, it's time for you to look at something new.
Yeah. So again, also giving the power back to the individual in your piece of letting them choose their leadership path. That's so important for happiness in life and really true success.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And so many people they get used to doing, sort of staying on that hamster wheel or that treadmill. Like they're making good money, they've got good coworkers, they've maybe got a great team, but if you're not really satisfied inside, then you're ready for something new. And it means it's time to do it, right?
Yes. And then the cool thing is you get to pull all those qualities, traits, skills from the one area. I like the ladder image that you give, and just shift the ladder to another building and you're already up there. That's so
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love
Hanging
it.
on to the rungs.
Oh, right. Just let it like let someone else move it for you. Even better.
I love
Awesome.
that.
Well, we've started to paint this picture of you can do it and you have control and make the decisions and it's all up to you. But there's challenges that come in your journey and in the journey that all of you have seen in your clients. So what would you say, and I'll start with Rochelle, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you faced as a woman in leadership? And how did you overcome it?
It well, confidence, I think, is having confidence in my own skills, trust in my own intuition,
Mm,
that what I believe in is the path to go down. And then to learn to articulate that. So when I'm speaking with a client, I can use that same kind of wording and really in storytelling.
yeah.
So much of what I work when I'm working with people is in storytelling, and I try to find examples either with something they have shared with me or something that I've experienced or seen. I think you were talking about something in another podcast, but I believe it's so true. When we're vulnerable, when we show to other people mistakes, quote unquote, that we've made and that we've overcome it, using that skill, and I call that a skill, is important in overcoming the challenges. And I've certainly had to knock down a lot of doors to get there.
Yeah. I'm glad you listed in the beginning a few of the qualities that you've really stepped into and used, because I do feel like intuition, especially, is a very strong female trait, and the ability of storytelling and bringing vulnerability in. These are all really good if we can make them more gender specific. I'll probably get some flack for that, but these are things that we can turn up in leadership roles, and I think that balances out a lot of the other leadership roles that men give, since we are speaking kind of specifically to men and women here. Though caveat, everyone can have all the qualities, and I'll say that, and don't come for me.
Absolutely.
But so biggest challenges here, you've overcome them, and I'm hearing too that you've used them to support your clients as well.
Yes. People seem to relate when you tell them a story, or you say, I've been in that place, I've walked in those shoes. They can relate to that.
Nice.
I don't use charts or big numbers. Finance can be an intimidating area of many people's lives. They shrink away from it. They're scared of it. They're afraid someone's going to tell them they're doing it wrong, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I want to provide them with the confidence that the decisions they've made will help support them. And by the same token, if there is a decision that they made that is not going in the direction or suiting them now,
Yeah,
how to change that.
exactly.
so
Exactly.
that they can get on the path that they want to be. And it's the path they want to be on.
True. Very true. Well, Candy, how about you? What would you say the biggest challenges that you faced, or one of them? We don't have to go
Yeah.
through all of them, just one.
We won't go through the grocery list. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is being the first or the only. So I have a fair number of experience working in male-dominated fields where I was the only woman and often the only person of color. And so, you take a small subset of people and then you make it even narrower. And so the challenge there is that when you're the first or the only, you're not sure that you belong. And that took some work. The place of belonging for me always came to, can I be open and really curious and ask some great questions of those other people that are in the room, and to really, that reciprocal thing of, if I really see you and I listen to you and I ask you questions and I create the conversation from that, then we start to create a relationship. And that's the place that then we can move past gender or color.
Wow. Yeah. I'm glad you also brought uh, to the forefront, I think, one challenge we've all dealt with, and then one challenge you personally have dealt with. And it gets me really, really curious. Like, are we as a society moving in the right direction? I think it depends on what country you're in at this exact moment. However, the your solution to build relationships, to let them really see and get to know you, like, then you can't deny that you're awesome, right? They can't deny you're awesome and that you have the expertise and the care. I always hear a lot of care in your voice for other people.
Thank you.
I think that's a really good thing for the listeners to hold on to, is that build that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that connecting with people is so important. And hopefully that helps to break down some of the barriers and some of the assumptions as to, who is the right person to be put in that chair and who is that right person that has that title attached to their name.
True. Yeah, thank you. And Laura, how about you? You have a different
Well,
challenge to these ladies?
I do. I was just trying to think about it. I don't know if it was necessarily as a woman in leadership, but I found as I was being a leader in certain places that I've been in. I'm thinking back to when I was actually in an office job sort of thing. And that kind of thing is like, how can I do what I want to do and lead how I need to lead with people around me who are trying to undermine me or manipulate or take credit, right? Take credit for other people's work. And these are things that you'll see in narcissistic personalities. And so I struggled with that kind of dynamic, but my biggest struggle, I think, was learning how to set firm boundaries. And that is where I didn't feel very successful as a leader when I didn't know how to do that. And then standing firm in my values. And I just remember thinking back to people who would challenge me, and all I was doing was holding my boundaries firm. I worked in special education, and there's a lot of legalities to that. And I would say things in meetings that I wasn't loved that way, because I would say legal things and say, like, well, we can't do that. That's against the law, those kinds of things, or the parent has the right for this. And I was really had a lot of pushback on that, but I had to stand firm in my values, but also in the law. But just being able to say, this is what I value. I believe we should, hold the child, the best interests of the child, right?
Yeah.
And so now I teach others how to do that when I'm working with other people, how to emphasize your boundaries, your self-worth, your resilience, those kinds of things. So that you know how to move through this world and really show people who you are. Of course, I love what Candy was saying, and the summary of that, of like showing that you care, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for me, is we can do all these things. Because to me, the ultimate act of self-love was learning how to set healthy boundaries. And that's how you teach people where the door is. You don't put up a wall, you teach people where the door is. And that's what I share with my clients.
Oh, yes. I have to often work with clients on how to retrain other people how to react to you or how to behave
Yes.
with you. And what I see really it as is you were in an industry where you had to advocate for others. And
Yes.
really, we get to the point where we have to advocate for ourselves and not self-abandon. So you've all given some really great ways to overcome these challenges. And I'm glad it wasn't just do the superhero pose in the bathroom before your meeting. Because that we got quick fixes and then we've got things that like really at the core foundation are going to support you.
Yes.
Well, let's move to we'll go to Candy for this first, around some lessons learned. So what's the most valuable leadership lesson you've learned and how would you advise others to apply it?
Yeah, so for me, I think the most valuable lesson that I learned was from an old boss that I had. And it's back to this thing of caring. I used to be like, get in the office early, work like crazy, stay late, da 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 da, climb that ladder. And he'd been around the block a few times. And every day he would walk into the office and he would kind of look around and he would smile. And then he would go and he would say hello to every single person. And I used to think, what an incredible waste of time. But you know what? When it came down to it, he created a relationship with everybody. He was really keeping his finger on the pulse about what was going on and who was okay and who wasn't. And we felt trusted and that we mattered. And so for me, that's just a huge thing, that a seemingly small question of how are you today, when really asked from that place of the heart, it goes a long way to creating a solid team.
Yeah, building that consistency every single day. And I get what you mean, a waste of time. I love efficiency. And that's actually a lesson that I had to learn. And I wish that someone had modeled that for me, like it was modeled for you. But the other piece of that is even when people model it, people don't always pay attention, and you paid attention and then implemented that. And I think that's one of the key things, listeners, is Laura, Rochelle, and Candy are giving you so many pieces of gold around your leadership journey and how to be a better leader and really just like evolve as a person. But will you implement the things that are said? That's the key. So let's hear what Laura has to say around a valuable leadership lesson learned.
I'm going to say the dreaded B word, which is again, boundaries.
Let's hammer it home. Hammer it home.
I'm telling you that's my superpower. You know what I mean? It's when I learned how to set boundaries, because you're not only protecting yourself, you're setting and maintaining a healthy culture in your organization and in your community. And I'm talking about community around you, your friendships, all those kinds of things, like who you are, like when you go into the world, that you're building community. And so when you can teach people where your door is, because doors, boundaries show people where the door is to get to you. And that to me is so important. And so, leadership isn't about pleasing everybody, but it's where you have to uphold the values and create the safe environments and addressing toxicity head on. And so my advice is to get comfortable with that, learning how to set healthy boundaries. And it's hard at first if you don't know how, but that's something that I do talk about often on my podcasts and with my clients, how to do that, because that's the ultimate act of self-love that will trickle down to every single thing in your world.
Yeah. I was just thinking, this is what you do with your clients. Kenny and I do it with our clients. Rochelle knows enough about this that she's setting boundaries with her clients and helping them to do the same. Can you just give us an example of one boundary that someone might set, just so the listeners can be like, okay, now I'm seeing how that can apply.
Okay, so no pressure, but I'm just trying to think of this is the thing, is who are you is the biggest thing, is like looking to understand who are you and what do you want from this world? Because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to take from you. And I guess the one that's coming to mind is in a world of takers. And especially if we have this, I think we all might have this kind of persona that we are givers. Okay. When we go into this world and we care and we love and we're trying to help people, we're givers. The takers are going to take. And so trying to understand, I can only give a certain amount and I will allow only a certain amount, and not to feel bad, right? It's not about pleasing everybody. So not to feel bad when you do have to tell people no, because we can say no, or no, thank you, or no, that's not what I do. This is what I do, and be okay with that. And that's just sort of a generic way, but it's that learning who you are and how you're going to interact with the takers, because they will find you.
Yeah. And they'll be like, hey, can I just ask you a quick question? And all of a sudden you're coaching them for free. And so some words that
Exactly.
I've said is, sure, I've got 5 minutes for you.
Yes, and that's really hard. I have had people say, like, throw your calendar at them and say, "Hey, yeah, sure, sign up for." I even have a
Session.
free call, a free call on my, but it's very short, but sometimes it needs to go on my calendar so you know that I'm not just running a cute little business. I'm actually running a business. Like, it's not just a little hobby I have.
Yeah. And even if, you need to go to Costco or lunch with a friend, that's
Yeah,
still important.
it is.
That
Exactly.
they're
Yes.
not coming into that time.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Good. Thank you, Laura. And for you, Rochelle, what do you think? What has been one of the most valuable leadership lessons that you've learned?
Kindness.
Oh,
And when I first started working in this business, the first manager I had was a female, and she was very direct and firm, and I thought unkind
Mm.
in the way not only how she handled me, but some of her clients and other people she was working with. I I hated that image, and I didn't like the fact, and we're talking a very long time ago. I'm talking about in the 80s. So there was that image of a woman had to be the B word in
yeah.
order to be successful. And that was just a place too far that I was not going to go. It just wasn't me. I didn't think I would develop coworkers, good relationships with coworkers that way, and
Yeah.
certainly not with clients. I always wanted to be kind to them. If I couldn't help you, I was going to say that in a way that at least would direct you elsewhere, that you might get an answer or you might get to a place. And I think when we talk about society, that's lacking a lot, but that's very important to me. And when you talk about boundaries, that's very important to me.
Yeah. So you can be kind and assertive. You can be kind and direct. You can be kind and honest.
Right.
So
I
just
believe.
infusing all of those with kind. It's not a kind doormat. It's kind with all of these other qualities that go
Mhm.
with it. Yeah. Yeah, that's important. We are down to our last and final question. This is our rapid fire round.
Okay.
We're going to start with Laura. What's one habit or ritual you swear by to maintain clarity in your leadership?
Journaling every day. And yeah, it's really changed my mindset. You can write down your thoughts, get them out of your head, and set your intentions for the day, check in on yourself emotionally, and just write down your hopes and dreams, just all those things. Put it all in a journal. And there's that brain. I need to look it all up because I never remember. There's that connection when you write it with a nice pen and a nice journal, like there's that really great brain connection. And it really helps with everything, with your mindset and everything, setting your intentions for the day.
Yeah. Writing down your boundaries.
No, because you already know them.
Okay, Rochelle, how about you?
It's a walk first thing in the morning. I walk my dog first thing in the morning, and I do some stretches after that, and that really sets the tone for my day. As I've said to my clients, I do my best thinking when I'm taking a walk or taking a shower. And that's because it's like everything else is not there. I'm not
Right.
thinking about what's my agenda for the day or what do I have to do. It's just
So it allows a
letting
little bit of
the
thinking
world come
space.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So journaling, walk, or a shower, and which everyone should be doing. Candy, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with something really short. Take a breath.
Mm.
As soon as we get triggered, we are not our best self. We're not thinking our best thoughts. And I always jump to feeling defensive. But if I take a breath, then I can just relax for a bit and approach things from a much clearer spot.
Amazing. Wow. So good. I love all of this. Laura, Rochelle, and Candy, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, a little bit more of that insight, that vulnerability about the challenges you've been through, and some really great lessons that I hope all the listeners will implement.
Yes.
Implement. Key thing here. So I'm so excited also for your pieces to be unleashed to the world in May in the Dynamic Women Leadership Secrets book. I hope that everyone is marking their calendars so that they can attend. At the end of the month, we are going to have our launch party. It's going to be online, so everyone can be there. And at that point, you'll be able to pick up your copy of your book through your author connection. So I hope everyone puts that on the calendar. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. Excited for this to come out and everyone to hear it. And so for any of you who are listening and you're like, oh, I've never heard of this podcast before, just so you know, sometimes I do solo episodes where I talk about things where areas you can improve in your life, your business, sometimes strategy, sometimes mindset. It's a whole assortment, kind of a 360 of your life and how to have more success and satisfaction. And then I have the privilege some weeks of having an amazing guest on, like these three amazing ladies today, where they share their expertise and their stories about how they have achieved more success and are living a dynamic life. So hit subscribe, share with a friend, and until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.